You are not alone. I mean, I fetch my child at around 2 o'clock, get home, give her around about an hour to chill, get undressed, eat, etc., etc., and then she starts her homework at around 4. So I don't have the time to sit with her the whole time. Then I have to fetch my wife, and by the time I get back from fetching her, the next thing you know, it's almost 5. We start homework at around 6. Then they sit until about 9 o'clock, and then there's tempers that is flaring because a child can't concentrate, which is normal for a child their age between grade 1 and grade 3. Their attention span is only so much. There's only so much information they can absorb. And on a few occasions, my parents help my children with their homework, and we are too wrapped up. And my father is a teacher for 20 odd years, and he asked me, "Is your child behind on her work?" I was like, "No, this is just her normal homework. It's not because she's behind and catching up. This is the homework she has every single day." It's extremely frustrating. I shout at my child sometimes too.
Yes, that's a voice, as you've heard, from a frustrated parent as well. And what's concerning is it's causing parents to also then go towards corporal punishment. I mean, wanting to hit the child or smack the child because homework is not done. And this, for me, is extremely concerning as a child development specialist as well. But that parent is not alone. Parents have been left frustrated about the amount of homework children have been receiving, and this is now because rotational learning has ended. It's back to class time as usual. So we're going to be discussing, is homework being given because now educators have not yet finished the learning content of the day, or is it because of the impact of COVID that they have not yet consolidated learning content, and hence educators need to give them more homework as a means of consolidation. I have a parent by the name of Sakina Ponto, whose daughter is in grade 1, said, "My challenge, the issue is that they get way too much homework. And as a Muslim, my faith also plays a huge role. We have to make provision for our children to get Islamic learning in as well. Our kids basically have a full 12 plus hours of non-stop learning at such a young age. This is something that causes mental breakdowns. I've heard mothers complaining that their children aren't coping." So to help me understand and unpack this issue of homework and the amount of homework school going children are receiving, I have Professor Eric Atmore, who's professor in the Department of Education Policy Studies at the University of Stellenbosch. So let me welcome him as explains to us the structural aims of homework as well as homework as a role in the curriculum. Good morning, Professor, and welcome to Mid Morning Talk.
Good morning, Mariam, and good morning to your viewers and your listeners.
So, Eric, as you've heard, I've just read, you've heard an audio of a very frustrated dad, and as well as a parent, a mom who has raised her concerns as well regarding the amount of homework children are receiving. So, as somebody who's in the education sector, part of curriculum planning, and that, can you give us your insight with regard to homework, the duration of homework, and also the content? What should homework be looking like? Should be a continuation if lessons are not completed, or it should face on practical application of the work taught?
Mariam, homework is part of the teaching and learning activities of a school. Where it becomes a problem is when children are given far too much homework. And as your one caller was correct, children need time to play, they need time to eat meals, they need time to observe religious practices, and all those everyday life activities. But homework is also part of learning. I think during COVID, we've had a problem in that teachers have not been able to cover the full curriculum, and children have been given too much homework. The yardstick, which is recommended by the education authorities, is that in the foundation phase, which is grades 1 to 3, homework should be no more than 10 minutes to 30 minutes, a short period of homework. That as we move up into the intermediate phase, which is grades 4, 5, 6, and 7, that should be 40 minutes to an hour. In the senior phase, 70 minutes to 90 minutes. And then in the final grades, as children are preparing for matric, anything between an hour and a half and 3 hours. So this may seem excessive, but homework should be part of the teaching and learning activities of the school, not an add-on and not to replace what happens in the classroom environment.
And so, Professor, as somebody who specializes in the field of early childhood development, for me, doing homework is also a life skill. And I think for me, where sometimes preschools or early childhood centers fall short is they don't prepare the children in terms of responsibility about how to do homework. Also thing like managing your homework diary to see what is due for tomorrow, what assignments are due maybe from next week, so children are not cramming, because often then there's no communication between parents, and then they come on that day and they say, I've got an assignment due for tomorrow, I'm writing a cycle test, and I've got to finish my math homework and reading. And it was only upon investigation or meeting at the school does a parent come to realize, but class test was was written, that's going to happen a week before, assignment was given 2 weeks before, but children have not developed the skills in terms of how to do homework, how to plan your homework, managing a school diary as well. And should parents be how involved should parents be in terms of doing the homework, providing homework assistance, or it should be more supervision to ensure that homework is completed? What is our role as parents in this regard?
Mariam, one of the big benefits of homework is that it teaches the child good study habits, and it enables the child to plan his or her own learning. There are particular roles to be played by parents, and the one role not to play is to do the child's homework for him or her. It's to be there in a supportive fashion. I think parents need to understand the importance of homework as part of a child's schooling. With the younger groups, which you mentioned, grade R and at early childhood development centers, we wouldn't recommend homework at all. If there's any work to be done at home, it should be reading with children and all those play activities that children learn through. I think as we move up the grades, parents need to encourage their children to discuss their homework, to talk about the homework load, and to strengthen the child's confidence to be able to do that homework, because that is vital to learning. But under no circumstances should parents be doing the homework for their child. And we often see this in schools, especially around projects, where the parent wants to produce an absolutely brilliant project and does most of the thinking and most of the doing for a child. So I think homework can be very difficult if it's imposed upon the child, and if the parent forces the child to do it to a particular standard. I think parents need to be supportive of their children around homework, guiding, showing the way, providing a safe and quiet space where children can do their homework, encouraging the child, commenting positively on the progress that is made. But it really is a parent and child matter. It cannot be left to the child to go and sit in a corner by herself and produce the homework that is required.
Professor, so if you find that because the messages I have here in the notes I have from parents, that kids are finishing by 9 p.m. is the listener had mentioned, there's no time for play or rest and relaxation. Even it's infringing on meal times, which are essentially for me important family conversational times, and that and you've given guidelines about 10-15 minutes in increase by increments of 10 as they get to higher grades. If you find your foundation phase learner or child struggling with the content of homework, how do you intervene? Do you then send a note to the teacher saying, you know what, my child did not complete the homework, is they were struggling, it was taking long, maybe they require some remediation lessons or something they have not yet mastered or consolidated, they're still struggling. Is this the way? Or then you intervene and you assist the child with homework? So if you see your child struggling, or it's taking your child longer than the required time, surely then alarm bells to you, and is at this point you communicate directly with the teacher. What is your advice in that regard?
Mariam, communication with the school and the teacher is essential. The first is to determine, is the teacher giving the children too much homework? Remember, homework is not for new learning. The homework should reinforce what has been covered in the class and in the playroom. To give a child new material that has not been covered and expect the child to do it, complete it at home, is, I think, a little bit too far. So my advice to parents would be, if you have a problem with homework, either with the difficulty or with the length of time that is taking, go and speak to the teacher in a supportive, non-confrontational way. To teachers, the message must be aware that children have lives. They have a life beyond the school. They have religious activities, they have sporting activities, they have social activities, all those very important skills that are developed at home. If a child is struggling with the homework at home and it does not relate to the load, but more to the content, parents can intervene, but intervention must be in perspective. And what that means is that the intervention must be to help the child through the problem, not to answer the problem for the child. So let's say it's a difficulty with arithmetic or mathematics. The parent can take the child through the calculation process rather than doing it for the child and writing the answer down, because that's going to produce a false impression. The teacher's going to think this little girl, this little boy is up to date and she's acquiring the early literacy, early numeracy skills, the arithmetic and mathematical skills, which is appropriate for her age, when in fact it's been the parent who's done the work. So parents must only ever be support and not do for the child.
I think that's sage advice indeed, Professor. And also, you touched upon earlier about projects and assignments, and I'm talking about now about 5-6 years ago. My son at that stage was in grade 5, and an assignment he had to do is he had to bow a globe, or a globe, a world globe. So they had to make the globe, then they had to cut out and place all the continents in its correct place. And he didn't have for me, it was just a pointless exercise, because in your life you're never ever going to be asked to make the globe. Yes, you need to know on the map where countries are positioned, but for me the stress was to actually how I mean, it took me hours of research to say how we're going to do it, and finally we landed on a balloon with paper mache. So for me it was more an art project to getting this globe right. And I was fortunate. I had many resources because of the kind of vocation my husband does, that we could then drill holes and put this thing together. And I mean, I had access to internet and printer. That time wasn't as easy it was to get this time. And then also to cut out the world. His cutting skills were not yet developed. And I had to help. And then I did speak to the school management to say, what was the point of this? Because for me, knowing the positions of a country is important, where they stand, or learning more about a particular country, but making a globe, what does this have in his life in terms of aiding to his life skill? So also, I think as parents, can we engage with teachers without causing offense to say you've given this assignment, but what is the aim of this assignment? What skill would you like the learner to have at the end of the day when he's engaged in this project or assignment?
Mariam, that's a very good example that you used. And that talks to the role of the teacher in allocating homework. I think there are a number of things that the teacher has to consider. First of all, as you rightly mentioned, how important is this task? How realistic is it? And how difficult is it? Now, if you are expected to produce a globe using paper mache and all other sorts of materials, for many children, they may not be able to do that. Either they do not have access to the materials or they cannot afford it. Their parents cannot afford it. So the teacher has to consider the home circumstances of the children when planning homework. You know, in a class of 25 or 30 children, you will have children from varying backgrounds, different communities, and different economic groupings. So it cannot be one size fit all. The teacher has to consider the home circumstances of the child. Secondly, the homework tasks need to be of a variety. If it's the same every day, for example, writing and copying and doing the same thing, that gets a bit boring. And teachers need to light the fire in their children's thinking and in their creativity. One further danger is that often the teachers do not speak to each other. So teacher A does not know which homework tasks teacher B has given. And a child could end up overloaded. And that's where you've got 8 and 9-year-old children doing 2 to 3 hours of homework. And that is untenable and it's not fair on the child. A child has to have the resources at home to complete a specific task, and teachers need to be cognizant and aware of it. And if the teacher has any developing problems with the child, the teacher must speak to the parent as well. Your child is not doing his homework or her homework to a particular standard. He's handing it in late, and they should together solve that difficulty. It cannot be left to the parents to take responsibility for homework.
Yes, Professor, sage advice indeed. And I think on the part of parents, it's not that parents are opposed of the homework, but as I say, the frustration comes with the length of time of the homework. And sometimes the children are struggling to do the homework because they don't yet have the enough knowledge or skill to then complete the homework. And as you've said, I think coming up from this conversation, my take back is then parents need to communicate with the educators, and the operative word means in a supportive and non-confrontation way. So I think often it's the way we communicate and how we communicate with the educator, because please don't go and make it seem as an attack. So maybe your approach should be more counsel and advice. How do I best support my child? Or I find, my struggles when I'm getting my child to do homework and that. So it's important how we open those channels of communication. And also, I love that what you said, and I'm going to hashtag that hashtag children have lives beyond school. I'm going to quote this freely now because I think it's important, and we need to put this in perspective, because even parents, sometimes it's all they do is, did you do your homework? Study, study, study. And especially for those in grade 11 in matric, I think they know themselves it's important years, but whoever sees them, that's all the mantra they get. You need to study. Are you doing past papers and that? But you know what? In order for them to produce, they also need to lead holistic, well-balanced, healthy lives, and also taking a bit of break just to relax and focus helps them in the long run. So thank you for that hashtag, the children have lives beyond school. And thank you for your time, Professor. And I'd love to chat to you in the future as well, leading academic and authority in the field of education. That is Professor Eric Atmore. Good afternoon. Well, almost afternoon. So I'll just say good. I'm thinking morn, afternoon. I'm trying to put a synonym here together for when we just 5 minutes before noon there. So I hope you had a good morning, and I'm wishing you a blessed afternoon.
Mariam, thank you. And thank you for what Salam Media does for children and for education. I think you are fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. That was Professor Eric Atmore. We're going to go for a short break. When we get back, we've managed to secure an important advice from a very experienced, passionate educator. So let's go for a short break, and then we're going to play her message. Okay. At 20 minutes 47 is what?
Our journey to bring relief to all, go to www.ashrafulaid.org or call us on 011-809-8181. Ashraful Aid, under the auspices of Maulana Suhail Wadi.
Babu, why don't you loosen your belt a bit more?
But why now?
Well, it's very tight, blocking air to your brain.
Haju, this is only a start. I need to tighten up a bit more. Funds are tight and the cost of living is high.
Funds are not tight. It's your haram insurance which is tightening our barakat.
Okay, Haju. I will call my insurance friend tomorrow.
Maybe I must tighten up on my cooking from now on too.
No, Haju. We don't need to tighten up. It's okay. Look, I'm even throwing away my belt.
Don't tighten your belt. Change your insurance. Leaving Riba Insurance is easier than you think. Call Amana IFS for all your personal and commercial takaful needs. 0861 786 393. Amana. Leave Riba for good. Amana IFS is a registered financial services provider.
What makes Randery Jewelers the optimum place for your memorable gift? Is it our range of exclusive, high-end, luxurious jewellery? Or is it our master craftsmanship of all your bespoke jewellery needs? We believe it's because at Randery Jewelers, we know just how to make your special moments last forever. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, or just a simple gift to show your love, trust Randery Jewelers to make it special. www.randeryjewelers.com. Make your moments last forever with Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
When bombs rained down on Gaza, Islamic Relief responded immediately with life-saving aid. When the cameras left, we remained to rebuild the shattered lives. We believe that not only falls, but that Allah knows it. You too can help Islamic Relief rebuild Gaza. Donate today at www.islamic-relief.org.za.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
For a long time, we've lived in a centralized world, where institutions held the all-important data and confirmed all transactions. Those times are over. Welcome to Libertas Group, a blockchain development company boasting an ecosystem that continually redefines the way we do business. Our blockchain is decentralized, making it immune to hacking or alteration, putting the power back in your hands with no middleman so you can focus on the growth of your business. Libertas, the simplest investment choice you'll make.
Imagine the joy that a meal brings to the fasting family in need. This Ramadan, join Africa Muslims Agency to provide meals to the fasting for 100 Rand a day, a food hamper for 1,500 Rand, or feed a village for 15,000 Rand per day. If we can imagine a better world, we can create it. Donate today. Call AMA on 011-834-8685 or donate online. Africa Muslims Agency, commemorating 35 years of empowering, educating, inspiring.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Assalamu alaikum, Mariam. On the topic of homework, coming from me, and I'm a teacher for 15 years, and I'm the type of teacher that does not give homework when it is not absolutely necessary. I believe that learners go home and the homework gets done by everybody else besides themselves, and that defeats the entire purpose of the reasons for homework. So if I am going to give my learners homework, the reasons why I give it is to reinforce and retain information that I've given them in the class on that day. It is pointless giving them an activity to do which has nothing to do and has no relevance to the subject you were doing or the topic you were doing in class. Another reason for giving homework is to develop good study habits and to encourage independent learning. Learners are very often spoon-fed and told what to learn, and they don't know how to do research and how to study on their own and how to get answers to questions when they have to answer them on their own. I find homework also helps them develop better ways of using resources that are available to them. So extracting information from the internet, using dictionaries, using other resource materials that you might have at home to supplement the work that they're doing in class through the homework. I also believe that homework can be given if you started an activity in class, like a project or an assignment, and they use the time at home to complete it, to perfect it, to come up with more ideas, then bring it to class the next day or the next week. Have a discussion with the teacher, have a discussion with the class, and see how you can incorporate all these things that you thought about at home into the project or assignment that you are doing. What makes homework effective and what makes it useful is that if it's relevant and interesting. If they just given an activity every day because for the sake of just giving homework every day and having something written in their books as homework, I find that's completely ineffective. It needs to be interesting for them. It needs to be relevant for them. They should be able to do that homework in a time frame that's reasonable, and the level of difficulty should not be so high that they cannot manage the task at home without needing more explanation that you have already provided for them in class. I don't believe that homework should always be a written task. There are sometimes we don't have time in the class and we might want to show the learners an interesting video about the topic that we are discussing or that we are learning for that week. Provide them with the link or the name of the YouTube video for them to go and watch that and gain the information through hearing. It could also be a task where you give them a booklet and tell them, I want you to read this section, I want another learner to read that section. And the next day we come to school and we're going to discuss all the different sections amongst us. So it supplements your learning in the classroom and it reinforces what you're already doing. I also strongly believe that children need to learn holistically. So if you're going to take away all their leisure time, they're going to stop doing homework. So the time frame that they spend on homework must not encroach on their leisure time. Children need recreation in the form of just sitting on the couch and watching TV, even going out for a swim or a jog or a run, because at the end of the day, all work and no play makes John a dull child.
All work and no play indeed makes John a dull child. And as Professor Eric has said, children have lives, hashtag children have lives beyond school. So sage advice from the professor in experienced educator we just heard in terms of homework and an educator's perspective as well. And for me, the take back from the interview regarding homework is communicate what the educator's concern. If you feel that you've spoken to the educator and you are still not satisfied in terms of the resolutions, or your children are still then struggling with homework, take it up to the HOD level or school management level, and if that fails, then to the principal. So I think part of educating ourselves as parents in terms of our children's educational journey is to find out the channels of communication within the school, and those channels of communication are usually made available to parents at the conventions of the year. If they not put the school an email to say you'd like to know if there is a query or you're experiencing certain challenges, what are the channels of communication? I mean, as a child development specialist and educator myself, my advice would always contact the educator concerned first. If you find thereafter the issue has not been satisfactorily resolved, the next port of call would be to the educator concerned or the grade head concern, the HOD concern or the grade head, and then eventually send an email to the principal. So that is my input regarding this topic. We're going to take a short break, and thereafter we're going to be speaking about the evolution of journalism or journalism in 2020 in the age of social media and digital media. All this after the break.